Coming up on this edition of Arirang News, South Korean President Park Geun-hye and her Kazakh counterpart Nursultan Nazarbayev promise stronger economic ties in energy and power projects. The Federal Reserve continues to reduce its monthly bond buying program by another $10 billion and says the U.S. economy is rebounding. And as for the 2014 World Cup updates, Spain drops out while the Netherlands secures a spot in the next round. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. President Park Geun-hye, currently on a state visit to Kazakhstan, and her counterpart there have agreed to take their economic ties up a notch by expanding joint projects beyond the Central Asian country's energy sector. The Kazakh president also gave his backing for President Park Geun-hye's North Korea policies. Choi Yoo-sun sends this report from Astana.
During a summit meeting in Astana Thursday, President Park Geun-hye and her Kazakh counterpart Nursultan Nazarbayev first checked up on 3 previously signed joint projects that are worth $10 billion. Seoul asked for Astana's cooperation in speeding up initiatives on the construction of a coal thermal plant and petrochemical complex, along with mining projects off the Kazakh coast near the Caspian Sea. While Seoul considers Kazakhstan a key investment destination in resource-rich Central Asia, Astana has made Korea a role model for its so-called 2050 strategy that aims to make it one of the world's top 30 economic powerhouses. Beyond their energy ventures, Presidents Park and Nazarbayev agreed to sign a rail technology sharing deal that could offer Korean firms the chance to participate in Kazakh railway and transportation infrastructure construction in the future. This, in line with President Park's initiative to link energy and logistics infrastructure across Eurasia to transform the global economic system and assure security on the Korean peninsula. They also discussed working together in areas of medicine, forestry, and visa waivers.
The former resources-centered diplomacy between the two sides has now been expanded to energy and all other industries.
Kazakhstan, which voluntarily handed over some 1,000 former Soviet nuclear warheads in the 1990s, reiterated its position of not recognizing North Korea as a nuclear weapon state. It also endorsed President Park's trust-building policies with the North. Wrapping up her state visit to Kazakhstan, President Park will depart for the final leg of her Central Asia tour to Turkmenistan Friday, the first ever visit to the country by a Korean president. Choi Yoo-sun, Arirang News, Astana.
Remember how economic democratization was the key word for President Park Geun-hye's presidential campaign as she was running for the country's top job back in 2012? Well, today, lawmakers used a plenary hearing as a chance to question whether her government was following up on the idea. Kim Young-gil tells us more.
President Park Geun-hye's top election pledge was achieving economic democratization, which calls for limiting the power of family-owned conglomerates and creating a level playing field for smaller firms. But ruling's Haeunuri Party lawmaker Lee Han-sung asked whether the plan was working.
Isn't economic democratization only favoring the rich and the conglomerates?
One of the government's biggest goals is economic democratization. This policy is not lopsided, but rather fosters support for smaller businesses. The policy has been implemented to improve people's livelihoods.
Opposition party lawmakers were less reserved, calling the plan half-baked and claiming it offers no solutions to the economic problems people are facing. Ruling party lawmakers also asked cabinet members to push ahead with deregulation. They say it's necessary to stimulate the economy and prop up the slumping real estate market. However, lawmaker Hong Jong-hak of the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy asked about the effect on household debt.
If we ease restrictions on home loans, what would happen to household debt?
Easing restrictions won't be a big problem, as the government can solve the household debt problem by raising individual incomes, allowing the debtor to prepay their debts.
The restrictions were put into place when household debt was rising at alarming levels. Amid differing views, lawmakers, however, did find some common ground on the need to put measures in place that would restrict retired government officials from gaining employment in the industry they used to regulate. They say such practices contribute to collusive ties between the private and public sectors. 김영길, Arirang News.
The U.S. Federal Reserve decided to taper its stimulus by another $10 billion and said the American economy was rebounding. But the Fed slashed its outlook for economic growth this year. Connie Lee tells us more.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has given a positive outlook for the economy this year, even though the economic growth forecast was slashed. From a projection of 2.9% in March, growth has been cut to between 2.1 and 2.3%. This is the latest from the two-day meeting of the Federal Reserve's policymakers. At a press conference on Wednesday, Fed Chair Janet Yellen, however, expressed the U.S. economy is rebounding and said interest rates, currently near zero, could begin to rise sometime next year. If this happens, it'll be the first rate hike since 2006. The exact timing, though, apparently depends.
There is no mechanical formula whatsoever for what a considerable time means. The answer as to what it means is it depends. It depends on how the economy progresses.
And as widely expected, the Fed cut its monthly bond purchases by another $10 billion to $35 billion, which shows confidence of a recovering economy. The Fed, in the meantime, will keep a watch on economic stability.
Today, Yellen came out and said that volatility may be too low, and we agree. Bond market volatility is very low. The stock market volatility is very low. So any sudden spike or in volatility could cause interest rates to rise pretty sharply.
Growth projections for 2015 and 2016 have been maintained, and Fed officials do forecast a drop in unemployment. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
Major investment banks have maintained their growth forecast for the Korean economy at an average of 3.8% this year, despite the April ferry disaster. 8 leading institutions, including Goldman Sachs and Nomura, said they expect the Korean economy to continue on the path to recovery, driven by strong exports. However, they did point to lingering risks to the Korean economy's fundamentals, including growing household debt and the falling profitability of exporters due to the Korean won. The explosion in the number of consumers using smartphones means retailers and online shopping malls cannot afford to miss out on the growing opportunities for mobile revenue. Kim Ji-yeon tells us more.
Korean consumers are increasingly turning to their smartphones to go shopping. They shop in their spare time, during working hours, and on public transportation. Like 27-year-old Kim Geun-hye, who says she has been shopping through her smartphone 5 days a week for the past 6 months.
I use mobile shopping day and night when I'm in the subway going to and from work. Because I spend most of my day working, I don't have the time to go shopping in the traditional way. I buy the necessities, and these days I'm shopping for summer clothes. It's easy and takes less than 5 minutes to buy something.
And Kim is hardly alone. GS Shop, one of Korea's largest online shopping malls, says the number of transactions made on its mobile application surpassed the number of those made through personal computers for the first time ever last month. 11th Street says more than 30% of its total sales comes from mobile shopping, up 10 percentage points from last year. The changing landscape has companies scrambling to come up with new ways to attract customers. 11th Street debuted a service in May that provides data for smartphone users when they window shop on the mobile platform. GS Shop has introduced a customer service menu that makes it easier for users to get questions answered. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
It's another upgrade for smartphone users in Korea who already enjoy one of the fastest wireless networks in the world. SK Telecom, Korea's #1 telco player, has announced that it commercialized an LTE advanced service with a speed of 225 megabits per second. That's 3 times faster than current LTE speeds and means a 1 gigabyte movie can be downloaded to a smartphone in just about 37 seconds. Other mobile carriers in the country say they will follow SK's lead in the coming days. Samsung Electronics unveiled on Wednesday an upgraded model of its Galaxy S5 that is specifically optimized for this new LTE technology, and LG and Pantech plan to do the same next month. The MICE industry, short for Meetings, Incentives, Convention, and Exhibition, is known as a high-value industry. Now, the Korean government has been supporting this sector, and starting today, an expo inviting buyers and sellers from all around the world kicked off in Ilsan. Shin Se-min reports.
For the second year running in 2013, Seoul was named the best international business meetings destination by the U.S. edition of Business Traveler magazine. However, that success has not spilled over to the rest of the nation. According to a recent report by the Hyundai Research Institute, Korea's overall competitiveness in the meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibition, or MICE industry is quite low, ranking 18th out of 21 nations surveyed. It found that Korea as a whole was lacking in terms of transportation, accommodations, and marketing. To pump some new life into the sector, Korea opened the MICE Expo 2014 on Thursday with more than 350 domestic and foreign businesses participating. The event, hosted by the Korea Tourism Organization and the Culture Ministry, provides the environment for business deals.
Although we haven't seen a huge jump in sales yet, we are receiving more requests to hold events at our hotel. It's a big reason we continue to promote ourselves here at the Expo and meet other potential business partners.
The MICE Expo, which runs through Friday in Ilsan, also aims to attract more tourists to Korea through other means, like promoting the popular Buddhist temple stay program. Medical tourism is also a big draw. In fact, a big portion of Korea's MICE industry belongs to medical tourism, which has been growing at an average rate of more than 37% annually in recent years.
And I'm interested to finding new partners, the DMC companies, the hotels, the venues, and medicine companies also. Of course, sometimes we have requests from Russian people to make a medicine inspection. That's why I'm trying to find something new.
The government has plans to host more events and conventions on Korean soil in the years to come. And by doing so, it hopes to add jobs and provide a much-needed boost to the domestic economy. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Adios Españoles and Viva Chile. As I mentioned on Wednesday, 2 wins, or on the flip side, 2 losses in the group stage means you're certain to keep going or start packing your bags. This was the case in Group B, as the 2 teams, the Netherlands and Chile, won their 2 games entering the knockout round. Spain, along with Australia, will be flying home after they play each other next week in a rather meaningless final group game. The Chile side was just too strong for the defending champions, making Spain look dull, ordinary in a comfortable 2-0 win in Rio. First half goals from Eduardo Vargas, who plays in Spain's La Liga for Valencia, and Charles Aranguiz put Chile in control, and they never looked in danger of losing their lead. Only 2 countries have ever won back-to-back World Cups, Italy all the way back in the 1930s, and Brazil for the 1958 and 62 World Cups. It was a fierce game in the other Group B match, with the Netherlands beating Australia 3-2 in a pulsating match. Robin van Persie and Ian Robben both scored in their second straight game. In Group A, Croatia cruised past Cameroon 4-0, but remained in 3rd place in the group behind Brazil and Mexico. The African team are eliminated. With that said, let's take a look at where the teams stand in their groups a week after the World Cup kicked off last Thursday. Now, this year's World Cup is a goal fest. We're seeing many more goals than we have seen in the World Cups gone by. An average of 3 goals have been scored per game so far, raising the bar for the world's top strikers to win the Golden Boot in Brazil. Now, the current leaders are tied at 3 goals each. Those are Germany's Thomas Müller, who scored a hat-trick in the first match against Portugal, and the Netherlands' Robin van Persie and Arjen Robben. The Dutch squad have scored the most goals so far at 8, and Chile's next with 5. And here's a look at today's games. First to kick off is the top 2 in Group C, Colombia and Côte d'Ivoire. Then comes the matches these teams will fight to win. The bottom 2 of Group C and D. That'll be 1, 4, and 7 a.m. on a Friday morning here in Korea. Let's hope the players give us another day to remember with goals, and some more goals. This has been Song Ji-sung with the updates on the World Cup.
And as our Ji-sun just mentioned briefly, there's been an onslaught of goals at the 2014 World Cup so far, and the Bazooka, the official match ball, may just be the reason. Kim Min-ji tells us more about the most advanced soccer ball yet.
In Team Korea's first match at the Brazil World Cup against Russia, forward Lee Geun-ho connected on a long-range goal. The ball seemed to be in the grasp of the Russian goalkeeper, but bounced off his hands and found its way into the net. The Bazooka, the official match ball of the 2014 World Cup, has been pointed to as a possible reason behind the Russian player's miscue. It has deeper and longer seams which contribute to its aerodynamics. Its unique surface also makes it less air-resistant. Therefore, offensive players will find it easier to roll the ball with greater speed and accuracy, while making it harder for goalkeepers to snare.
Simply put, it is like a volleyball. It will be hard to catch if the goalkeeper doesn't have a sensitive reaction to the ball.
To prepare for the Bazooka, Team Korea used a smaller ball during training.
I was able to enhance my concentration by using a smaller ball during training sessions. As I have to dive for the ball faster, it requires more agility.
The Bazooka has made the Brazil World Cup a high-scoring affair. There's been an average of 3 goals per match so far, a figure not seen in more than 40 years at a World Cup tournament. Faster and stronger, the Bazooka may indeed be a deciding factor in future matches. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
It's official. Spain's new King Felipe VI has been sworn in as the country's head of state, ending his father's 39-year reign. Now, for more on this historic event, Paul is joining us from the News Center. Paul, King Juan Carlos is best known for helping Spain transition into a democracy after the death of its longtime dictator, General Franco. Now, what's in store for his son now?
Well, King Felipe has his work cut out for him, as his father, as you just mentioned, has left a significant legacy in Spain's modern history. Felipe ascended to the throne at the stroke of midnight after Juan Carlos formally abdicated on Wednesday. It's the first royal transition in Spain since democracy restored in 1970. The swearing-in ceremony at the royal palace was kept low-key at a time when many in Spain are suffering economic hardship. Nonetheless, many crowds took to the streets in the capital, Madrid, to catch a glimpse of the new king.
I am here to defend the Spanish monarchy because it's a humble monarchy. It's a monarchy that supports the people, so what we ask from the new king and queen is to take the example of the previous ones.
During his first royal address, the 46-year-old king promised to uphold the Constitution and said he had great hope for the future of Spain. Felipe faces tough challenges ahead in order to restore the reputation of the monarchy, following a series of scandals at a time when many Spaniards are calling for the establishment of a republic.
Now, Iraq has formally requested U.S. airstrikes to stop the wave of Islamic insurgents who have now actually taken over the country's biggest oil refinery. Paul, how soon can we expect a decision from the U.S. for this military support?
Well, Washington is still weighing its options. They're not quite sure yet how to deal with the worsening conflict in Iraq, and there's been no official response to Iraq's request for U.S. air power to take on the militant group known as the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Our Kwan So-wah reports.
U.S. President Barack Obama has been mulling over how to deal with the crisis as the rebels have taken control of more territory in recent days, as well as Iraq's main oil refinery. On Wednesday, he told top congressional leaders that he does not need permission from lawmakers for any action in Iraq.
The president's been watching what we've been watching for over a year as the situation in Iraq continued to be undermined. And yet nothing has happened to try to reverse it.
Also on Wednesday at a Senate hearing, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Martin Dempsey explained the difficulties of launching an attack from the air. The top general, who has extensive experience commanding Iraqi troops, also expressed doubts that the U.S. has enough intelligence right now on potential targets, considering how quickly things have escalated in Iraq. Earlier this week, the U.S. deployed an aircraft carrier and missile ships in the Persian Gulf, leaving open the possibility of manned air or drone strikes on the Sunni militants. Kwan So-wah, Arirang News.
And turning now to Malaysia, where a deadly sinking of an overloaded boat has killed at least 5 people off the country's western coast. What's the latest in terms of the search operations there?
Well, Malaysian maritime agencies have deployed helicopters and dozens of ships to help find the 32 passengers who remain unaccounted for. Local media say the overloaded boat was carrying 97 suspected illegal immigrants when it capsized during a storm just after midnight on Thursday. Officials say the vessel had departed from Malaysia's Carey Island and was likely bound for Sumatra Island. Police say the boat lacked even basic safety equipment such as life jackets, but they are still hoping to find more survivors.
The operation will continue until all the passengers are counted. We have expanded our search area from the mouth of the Langat River all the way to 3 to 4 nautical miles away from the sinking site.
All 60 passengers, including children and women who were rescued, have been taken into custody under immigration laws. Authorities are still investigating the exact cause of the accident. It's estimated that some 2 million undocumented migrant workers in plantations and other industries in Malaysia often risk dangerous journeys from Indonesia and other poor countries.
I see, certainly hoping for some good news there. And finally, moving on to the tech space, the online retail giant Amazon has launched its first high-end smartphone, possibly to challenge market leaders like Samsung Electronics and Apple. What's different about this phone? Do tell me, because I am smartphone shopping at this point.
Well, if you're an avid shopper on Amazon.com and already a subscriber to the Amazon Prime service, and it's a very compelling purchase. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos unveiled the latest mobile device dubbed the Fire Phone at a press event in Seattle on Wednesday. On the hardware side, you have a 4.7-inch 3D display, a quad-core processor, and a 13-megapixel camera. But Amazon is banking on its wide range of online services to sell this phone, from free music and video streaming to unlimited storage in the cloud for your photos. Experts say the e-commerce giant is looking at the long-term strategy for its smartphone business.
But it's not about making a big splash for profit, not even making a big revenue splash in the next quarter or two, even in the best case scenario. It's about Apple encircling and building out their ecosystem, about Google encircling and building out an ecosystem, about Microsoft, and about Amazon saying we are one of the big players in tech. We also
The Fire Phone will be blazing into the U.S. market on July 25th, but there aren't yet any details for its international release. Cherry?
All right, Paul, thank you very much for those stories, and we'll see you back here in just about 2 hours. Let's now get an update on the weather with our Kim Bo-kyung joining us from the Weather Center. Bo-kyung, it was a nice day, pretty breezy here in Seoul, but here monsoon rains could be on the way.
Yes, monsoonal fronts are moving up north and should hit the southern regions tomorrow. In the meantime, the nation continues to be at the edge of a high-pressure system from the West Sea, which is leading to cloudy skies along with windy conditions along the eastern coastal regions. Shifting our focus to World Cup weather for a moment. Now, it's a mixed forecast for Brazil. As you can see, sunny conditions are expected for Porto Alegre, whereas hot and rainy conditions are expected for Rio. It's not only those of you in Rio, but also us in Korea that are looking at rainfall, because tomorrow evening, Seoul, Jeju, Gyeonggi-do, and both Chungcheong-do provinces are looking at about 5 to 10 millimeters of precipitation. Plus, we're not done with the rain yet, as monsoons should expand to more regions on Saturday, so make sure to have an umbrella with you. On to tomorrow's readings. Seoul reaches 28 degrees, while Daegu hits 27. Busan remains relatively cool at 24. On to other places. Jeju makes it to 26, Dokdo and Mount Kumgang to 19. That'll do it for this hour, but I'll be back with the latest after 10.
And that will do it for this edition of Arirang News, but I'm coming right back at 10 p.m. Korea time with my partner Sean Lim there. See you then.